My name is Adam Cole. I'm 32 years old, born and raised in a small town in Pennsylvania, but for the past decade, I've lived in Chicago, trying to piece together a life that sometimes feels more like a patchwork of mistakes than a coherent story. I work in an architecture firm, nothing glamorous, mostly renovations and small commercial spaces, but I've always loved designing things that outlast the chaos of the moment. This is the story I've never told anyone. Call it, I was just fixing my bike. Then she smiled and said, if only I were younger. It started on a Monday, a regular, unremarkable, cold Chicago morning. My breath fogged in the air like cigarette smoke as I wheeled my rusted Schwinn out of the garage behind my apartment. The back tire had been wobbling for weeks, and I'd finally decided to fix it myself instead of taking it into the shop. I crouched down in the alley, hands already numb in the wind, struggling with the damned bolts when I heard her voice. You're either really brave or really stupid doing that out here. I looked up. She was leaning against the brick wall across from me. Red scarf, gray coat, coffee cup in one hand, the other tucked inside her pocket. Late 40s, maybe early 50s, but the kind of beautiful that age just enhances. Poised, strong-eyed, like someone who'd seen storms and walked out of them drier than the people who had umbrellas. I smiled, brushing hair from my face with a greasy glove. I'm both. I'm an architect. Bravery and stupidity are like job requirements. She chuckled, a low, melodic laugh. Well, good luck with that, Will, architect. Hope it doesn't fall off on Lakeshore Drive. I appreciate the concern, neighbor. She turned to go. Then, with a glance back, said it with a smirk. If only I were younger. And then she disappeared around the corner. I sat there for a second, wrench hanging loose in my hand, unsure why that line echoed so much louder than it should have. Her name was Evelyn. I found that out 2 days later when I bumped into her in the laundry room downstairs. She was folding towels, listening to Etta James through her earbuds, singing under her breath like she forgot she was in public. You live in Forsea, right? She asked, as if she hadn't already memorized my mailbox. We started talking more after that. At first, it was brief elevator chats, hallway nods, then coffees, then longer conversations about things that didn't matter, whether city noise, bad neighbors, and then about things that did. Her divorce, my last relationship, which had crumbled under the weight of everything I didn't say aloud. I think you're scared of being close to someone, she said one night, when we found ourselves sharing whiskey in her apartment. Miles Davis playing low in the background. You don't even know me, I said, defensively. I know enough. I used to be you. That line, it hit deeper than it should have. Evelyn had a way of saying things like that, like she could reach right inside your chest, pull out the hidden stuff you'd buried under ambition and sarcasm, and place it gently on the table between you. I was drawn to her, not in a lustful, impulsive way. It was deeper. She made me feel seen, like someone had finally turned on the light in a room I didn't realize I was sitting in. We never crossed any lines. We never had to. There was an intimacy in our restraint that made it feel more dangerous. But life has a way of unraveling the delicate things first. It all began to change the day Julia returned. Julia, my ex, the one who'd left a hole in me 2 years ago when she moved to New York to find herself. Whatever that meant, she was back in Chicago, freshly promoted, needing an architect to oversee the interior design of her new office downtown. And she'd chosen me, said it was fate. Against every instinct, I said yes. I told Evelyn over coffee the next morning. Are you okay with it? She asked. Honestly, I don't know. She gave me a long look. You know, she's not coming back for closure. Some people only reach out to see if the door they slammed is still unlocked. I laughed bitterly. You're like some psychic aunt I never had. She didn't laugh back. I just don't want to see you get dragged into a storm you've already survived. That afternoon, I walked into Julia's new office. It was in the West Loop, all glass and steel. Cold, like her. She hugged me, but her perfume and her smile both felt off. I missed you, Adam, she whispered, and like that, I felt the past tug at me like a rip current. Over the next few weeks, the project moved fast, and Julia made it clear she still saw a future with me. She was strategic, showing up with old memories, shared photos, inside jokes. But something had shifted in me. The part of me that used to ache for her now just felt tired. One night, Evelyn knocked on my door. She looked different. Makeup, earrings, coat I'd never seen her wear. Her eyes shimmered like she'd been holding something in for too long. "I need to tell you something," she said, standing in my doorway. And just then, before she could, Julia's voice echoed from the hallway behind me. "Adam? You left your phone in my car." Oh, the silence that followed could have cracked bone. Evelyn looked at her, then at me, then back at her again. The corners of her mouth twitched into the ghost of a smile. "I see," she said. "You should get your phone." She turned, walked away, and this time she didn't look back. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the moment in my head. The look in Evelyn's eyes, not of jealousy or rage, just disappointment, like I'd let her down in a way words couldn't fix. The next morning, her door didn't open. Not when I knocked. Not when I waited. She was gone. No forwarding address. No note. Just gone. And so I'm telling this now, years later, not because I ever stopped thinking about her, but because some stories, the ones that really mark you, don't come with closure. Only echoes. Weeks passed. Then months. Evelyn's apartment stayed dark. The new tenants painted over the deep green accent wall she once told me reminded her of Irish summers. They put up shelves where her books used to be. Kafka, Rilke, Baldwin, all gone. Sometimes I'd catch myself pausing in the hallway, staring at her old door like it might swing open and undo everything. I tried calling once. The number was disconnected. I even asked the building manager if he had a forwarding address. He looked at me, pity in his eyes, and shook his head. "She was quiet," he said, "but kind. Left her keys and a thank you note. Said she needed to go where no one knew her name, whatever that meant." For a while, I buried myself in work. I finished the office project for Julia and handed in the keys without fanfare. She wanted to reconnect, but I finally saw her for what she really was. Not a lost love, but a mirror of who I used to be. Restless, always chasing something that felt like closure, but was really just control. I didn't love her. Not anymore. Maybe I never really did. But Evelyn, she lingered like unfinished music, like a song that cuts off mid-chorus. A year after she left, I found the old wrench I'd used to fix my bike. The day I met her, it was in the bottom of a drawer, still a little stained with oil. That night, something in me cracked open. I poured a drink and opened a box I hadn't touched in years. Sketches, old journal entries, forgotten blueprints, and in the back, a folded piece of notebook paper. My hands trembled when I saw the handwriting. Hers. It was a note, tucked into my sketchpad. I must have missed it before she left. It read, "Adam, maybe in another time, another life, you and I could have danced the way hearts are meant to. But this one, this life, I needed you to remind me I could still feel something, that I hadn't turned to stone. You saved a part of me I thought was lost. Thank you, E." I read it over and over, each word cutting clean and deep. I didn't cry, not that night, not then, but I did feel the ache. That dull, heavy ache of something unfinished, something pure and unrepeatable. 2 years later, I was hired to redesign a community art space in a lakeside town 3 hours west of the city. The place was old, peeling paint, rotting floorboards, but it had soul, like someone had poured their life into it, then vanished without taking anything back. I was measuring the front window one afternoon when I heard a familiar laugh. Soft, melodic, cautious. I turned. There she was, Evelyn. She had streaks of silver in her hair now, and a new scar just above her eyebrow. But her eyes, those sharp, knowing eyes, they hadn't changed. She stood across the gallery, holding a tray of paintbrushes, frozen like she wasn't sure if I was real. "Hey," I said, like it hadn't been over 700 days since I last saw her. She blinked, slowly. "You cut your hair. You remembered. How could I forget?" We sat by the window for hours. No big explanations. No accusations. Just two people walking barefoot through a memory neither of us could quite let go of. She told me she'd moved here to start over. She worked part-time at the art center and spent her mornings painting seascapes. Said she finally stopped running from herself. "And you?" she asked. "Still fixing things in alleyways?" I laughed. "Not as often, but I still break things sometimes. Mostly inside." There was a pause. She looked at me, her eyes glossy but steady. "I missed you, Adam, but I had to go." "I know," I said. "And maybe it wasn't about me staying. Maybe it was about you learning you didn't need anyone to hold you together." She smiled at that. "You always did talk like an architect." I stood. "Do you still dance?" She tilted her head. "Why?" I held out my hand. "Because I think this life owes us at least one song." She took it, and right there, in the middle of the dusty old gallery, we danced. No music, just the sound of wind brushing against glass, and two hearts remembering how to beat again. I don't know what you're expecting to hear next. Maybe that we got married, had kids, lived out some quiet version of forever. But the truth is, some people don't come into your life to stay. They come to wake you up, to change the architecture of your soul, to remind you that connection, true, aching, soul-deep connection, isn't measured in time. It's measured in impact. Evelyn didn't fix me, and I didn't rescue her. But in the middle of our broken timelines, we found each other. And for one small, impossible stretch of time, we loved. Fully, honestly, without need for promises. And that was enough. Love isn't always a long road. Sometimes, it's just one perfect moment, one shared glance, one memory that haunts you in the best possible way. Not everything has to last forever to mean something. Some loves are meant to pass through like rain, soft, brief, and life-changing. So if you're holding on to someone you let slip away, maybe forgive yourself. And if you ever feel something real, even if it scares you, lean in. Because the rarest thing in this world is to feel truly seen. And I was seen by her, and I'll carry that with me always.